Welcome to Stimulus Wealth today. Millions of Americans rely on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, commonly known as SNAP or food stamps, to afford groceries and basic nutrition for their families. For low-income households, seniors, and people with disabilities, this program is often the difference between putting food on the table or going hungry. Recently, a proposed bill backed by former President Donald Trump has sparked concern across the country as it outlines potential reductions in SNAP benefits that could heavily impact certain states more than others. While the proposal is still under debate and has not yet been implemented, discussions around its potential effects have drawn national attention, particularly in states where participation in SNAP is highest and where households are most vulnerable to cuts. One of the states facing the largest potential impact is Texas. With one of the largest populations in the nation and a significant number of low-income households, Texas ranks high in SNAP participation. Families across both rural areas and major cities like Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio rely on these benefits to keep up with rising food costs. The proposed cuts could affect millions of individuals, with households already struggling to make ends meet, bearing the heaviest burden. Many food banks in Texas are bracing for higher demand if reductions take effect, fearing that the cuts could leave more families turning to charitable organizations for support. Another state that stands to face a major impact is California. Despite having a diverse economy, California has one of the highest living costs in the country, which means that many low-income families depend on SNAP to survive. With rent, utilities, and food prices consistently higher than the national average, even a small reduction in benefits could have serious consequences for households that are already stretched thin. California has a large immigrant population, agricultural workers, and seniors who would feel the brunt of these changes. Community organizations have voiced concerns that cuts to benefits could worsen food insecurity in both urban areas like Los Angeles and San Francisco, as well as rural farming regions in the Central Valley. Florida is also among the states highlighted for significant reductions under the proposed bill. The state has a large population of retirees and seniors living on fixed incomes who rely on SNAP to supplement their Social Security checks. Florida's cost of living has risen sharply in recent years, particularly in housing and food, creating additional challenges for those with limited resources. For families in Miami, Orlando, and Tampa, as well as those in smaller towns, cuts to SNAP would likely mean increased food insecurity. Charities, churches, and local nonprofits have expressed concerns that the need for assistance could rise substantially if benefits are reduced. New York is another state where the proposed SNAP cuts would have a profound effect. The state's diverse population includes large numbers of working-class families, immigrants, and seniors who use SNAP to offset high food costs. New York City, with its extremely high cost of living, is home to millions who already struggle with rent and basic expenses. A reduction in SNAP benefits could intensify hunger in the city and across the state, from Buffalo to Albany. Local officials and advocacy groups have pointed out that food insecurity in New York could rise dramatically, especially in communities where grocery prices are already well above the national. Illinois is also expected to face some of the largest impacts from the proposed cuts. Many families in both Chicago and rural areas rely on SNAP to maintain consistent access to food. The economic challenges in some regions of the state, combined with rising food prices, make SNAP a vital resource for households living paycheck to paycheck. If benefits are reduced, community organizations warn that more families could face hunger or be forced to choose between buying food and paying for other essentials like rent and utilities. The proposed bill has already prompted strong opposition from local leaders who argue that cuts would disproportionately harm children and vulnerable adults in Illinois. While these 5 states represent some of the hardest hit areas, the reality is that reductions in SNAP benefits would affect households nationwide. The proposed bill highlights deep political divisions around the future of social safety net programs, sparking debates about government spending, personal responsibility, and the role of assistance programs in supporting low-income Americans. Supporters of the bill argue that the cuts are necessary to reduce federal spending and encourage self-sufficiency, while critics warn that such reductions will only worsen poverty and hunger, especially at a time when inflation and high living costs continue to strain families. For millions of families in Texas, California, Florida, New York, Illinois, and beyond, the proposed changes are more than just numbers on paper. They represent meals skipped, children going hungry, and seniors struggling to maintain their health. Local communities, advocacy organizations, and food banks are preparing for the possibility of greater demand. But many stress that private charities cannot fully replace the scale of federal support provided by SNAP. The ongoing debate will determine not just the future of the program, but also the daily reality of food security for some of the most vulnerable Americans. Disclaimer: this content is for informational purposes only and reflects ongoing public discussions about potential changes to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. The proposals mentioned have not been finalized and may change. This is not legal, financial, or benefits advice. For the most accurate and up-to-date information, please check official sources such as the USDA Food and Nutrition Service or your state's SNAP office. We are not affiliated with any government agency or political campaign, and no endorsement is